Hi, my name is Lindy and welcome to this channel. The title of this video this afternoon, that's this afternoon in UK time, is Plasma Energy Update, July 2018. Plasma Energy Update for July 2018. So the billions and billions of people on this planet that activate somewhere along their paths into a higher, more expanded form of their reality, of their experience, of their consciousness. And a name for that higher form of authentic, expanded mastery consciousness is ascension. All of those people that choose to go along that path of activating to who they truly are, activating of their own consciousness, all begin at different entry points through different life experiences, different states and stages of awareness, and those entry points can vary widely, but in human speak, in our human words for it, generally through life experiences, big life events, or the meeting of someone or multiple different people that help expand your reality and consciousness. So those are some of the routes into it. No matter what that entry point is, no matter what your entry point to expanded consciousness was, whether it was or is by meeting a profound connection, whether it was or is by activating through twin flame union, whether it was or is by just expanding your awareness and your perception and your reality as you're going along for a number of different things, no matter what your entry point is, you go through various levels, or what I call various rungs of consciousness, rungs of awakening, until you get into the rungs of consciousness and awakening in the heart. And when I talk about this, I always, in my mind or clairvoyantly, always see those rungs of consciousness in the heart like an ethereal ladder, really, with its entry point as fifth dimensional rung, ladder rung, as the entry point to our multidimensional quantum authentic hearts. As this channel has demonstrated over the last 4 years, there are various stages you go through, very, very down on the ground, basic level stages that you go through if that is your entry point. And it is very important for me to say that not everybody will have that entry point. Not everyone starts at the same rung of consciousness or awakening, and not everyone has the exact same templating or blueprint. So people activate or switch on to who they are, the authentic them, minus the belief systems and the programming, etc., at different stages of their evolution, and they don't all choose the same path to get there or all start at the beginning. It's not like a race where you all start when the racing pistol is fired and then you all go at the same time. They are all at different places, a bit like a relay race. You know, there's one further along here, one further along here, with different templates and different blueprints. But as part of that evolution, there seem to be certain key stages that, let's say the majority, the man on the street, the woman on the street, that activates in that way, goes through. And the only ones that don't go through that are those that already activate in a slightly different awareness and consciousness and templating, where they don't go the long way round, what I call the long way round of transforming and alchemizing old energy to a 0 point neutral state of energy, but that they are already primed and ready in their inner templating and blueprinting to activate in that 0 point field of energy. In other words, the beginning rungs of becoming fully conscious, so not everyone's the same, but generally many of the men and women on the street, so to speak, Joe Public, activate and go through a process of alchemizing and transforming very, very old traits within them, or the old way of doing things, to an alchemy transformational route of becoming authentic, neutral, 0 point, etc. As part of that entry route, we are entering times now, and like I say, we won't all hit the same point at the same time. We won't all have the same entry point at the same time. And there are differences to this, but generally speaking, within the last so many years, we have had the opportunity there, if you like, the foundations there laid down to come into our plasma state of embodiment, or plasma state of awareness, which is one of those states that I haven't talked about or mentioned on my channel before. So I feel that this is probably the first time that I've talked about it. So the plasma state of awareness and consciousness really overlaps with our entire energetic body and our entire energetic system, and is interwoven with and as part of that electromagnetically. And the plasma part of us resonates at its highest or strongest in a neutral state of play or neutral state of awareness, which is why the magic of this all falls into place, where for a couple of years now I've been banging on my channel relentlessly about getting to the 0 point, what I call 0 point, that's my language for it because I can't explain it any other way, a neutral state of consciousness within yourself. And the plasma state within us, let's say, operates, I'm not going to just say at its highest, I could actually say switches on and activates within that state. That's probably why I've never mentioned it before, because I haven't been at the plasma state before what I'm coming into now. So as it's an experiential channel, it means I share everything through direct personal experience and direct professional experience. And that's why it's in some ways a slower route, because it's showing you in real time spread over a period of time. In the channel itself is actually a template. That's its purpose. The plasma energy which we are comprised of is all part of our electromagnetic field, or our electromagnetic system, and interwoven with all parts of us as a system, but particularly like the etheric body and the light body. And it seems to me, this is my take on it, that you start to have an interest or an awareness of it when you are resonating in your inner frequency with operating at that level yourself. Now, as with everything, when we are going through a process of awakening and consciousness, there are a certain set of sequential things or a certain set of sequences that all seem to be thrown into place at the same time to suddenly create an inner shift, a micro shift, a micro and a macro, so inner and outer shift within us. And I've always seen that bit because I speak very plainly on these things in an easy way to understand for myself and for the people watching. I always see it like a bicycle lock that you have on a bike when you park your bicycle up and you don't want it to get nicked or stolen. Bit of London speak there. You don't want it to get nicked, mate. So what you would have if you had a bicycle chain on your bike is to unlock it, or to lock it, you know, a series of numbers all being in line. To lock the bicycle, a series of numbers being in line to unlock it, to take it off. I've always seen it that way. It's like an alignment of all parts of the energy body and a sequence of things all in place at the same time. Your own consciousness, your own awareness, what's happening in your life, macro again, and micro, the interplay of the two things, all being in line at the same time. So if one thing's slightly out of kilter, all those numbers don't line up. And these can be facilitated again by your own personal efforts in your evolutionary journey, by outer events speeding it up or slowing it down, global events speeding it up or slowing it down. Certain things can facilitate that, certain sounds can help facilitate things, certain shapes, geometric shapes can, you know, help things. There are different things along the way that can facilitate this. And the plasma body seems to be another part of this journey that we're on, that you suddenly hit a point in your evolution where that even comes into your interest or awareness. Now, I have heard plasma body mentioned before, but hardly ever. It's not been something that's resonated with my frequency or radar. I've not really noticed it. I have heard it mentioned once or twice before over the last couple of years. And when you hear someone talk about it and you think, oh, that's interesting, but it's not part of your experience, you find it interesting, but it kind of goes over your head, or you don't really take it in, or you don't think about it anymore. As this is an experiential channel, like I say, I only share what I have experienced personally and or professionally, usually both. And the plasma thing has started to creep up significantly for me and suddenly come into my awareness over the last 3 or 4 days. Actually, when I think about it, probably around the time of the solstice. I mean, I didn't put any link to that until I just actually thought about it, which would have been about 4 days ago. So suddenly that is a let's say a state of being or awareness that I'm now resonating with. And we only resonate with these things that are available to us internally, again, micro, or externally, macro, in the form of inner templating, inner blueprinting. When we are aligning with external templating, external blueprinting, external archetypes, you know, there is an interplay between what's going on and what's outside, and there are some very helpful things that help us from outside and some things that try and derail us intentionally from outside. But as part of that, it seems that the plasma state is a key part of one of these rungs of consciousness that has been swimming around in the mix. Let's say it's always been swimming around in the mix, but you get to a point in your own awareness where suddenly it becomes part of your perception, part of your reality, and therefore you're starting to embody at that rate. It seems to be, as all of these states seem to be, not just about us individually, but that it seems to connect with your reality and perception as a whole, and seems a very creative state that does not just respond to us as we are expanding our consciousness, therefore expanding our perception, therefore expanding our reality, therefore expanding our heart, therefore expanding our evolution, but it also links to the service-orientated collective expansion, because the more people that are operating at, what I mean by operating at is living at that level of their plasma awareness or plasma consciousness, the better, because these are the upper levels or upper layers of the global expanded consciousness, but also the planet's expanded plasma consciousness. So the more people you have operating, living their lives from, being the embodiment of, not just temporarily tapping into. I'm not criticizing temporarily tapping into. If it's a route to your awakening or to facilitating your awakening, you know, fair enough. But we are at a point now where it goes beyond that. It's not something that you do between the hours of 9 and 10 twice a week or something. It transcends that. You get to a point in your own evolution and transformation and alchemization into your upper levels of consciousness, where you are what it says on the tin, 24/7. It doesn't switch off anymore. You are it. That's your vibratory rate. That's your resting state. That's what you vibrate at all the time, 24/7. There are no changes to that. Well, the only changes to that is that you continue to expand until you want to get off the train. What do I mean until you want to get off the train? It means that you'll expand as far as you want to expand in this life, in this timeline, in this reality, and then you'll go no further than that, and that will be your resting state. That will be how you choose to perceive your world and participate in your world and live in your world and interact in your world, or leave the world. That will be, you know, as far as you get. And that, of course, will vary. That will vary who gets where, when and how. Some people won't get off the starting blocks because they don't want to. Some people will go all the way up. You know, beyond what we've seen here since the ancient civilizations, which were us, of course, far more advanced back in the Atlantean and Lemurian times, you know. So people can get off that roundabout or off that train or out of that car, you know, along the way, wherever. But this plasma state seems to be a key part of those upper levels of expanded consciousness. So it's all to do with the vibration, the speed, and the elevation of the particles that we are comprised of, the energy particles that we're comprised of. The entry point being at a certain critical point of evolution within us, where the doors to that particular plasma awareness open, and we can participate in our reality and as our embodiment from that kind of state. All of the plasma awareness and the plasma energy is us, but it's our awareness of that being part of us and the picture that is key. Now, I do feel that there are certain things that have been building up to the point of encouraging people along that route of evolution for quite some time, for a number of years, that there have been things in place that have propelled people along that route. Let's say activations in a way outside of us, which have prompted those inner activations. But I do feel that there is one in particular at the moment that is propelling people that are at that stage along nicely, and I do feel that this is an off-planet activation that is coming through via a particular energy body, and I'm going to align that with the I'm going to call it the blue energy body. Now, it's interesting because I don't often wear this particular colour blue, and this is a top I've only got in the last couple of days, but I was really drawn to be in blue and keep wearing blue at the moment, this particular blue, and it aligns me very much with what I'm talking about. And I feel that this particular activation of consciousness, I want to go like that, almost beam it, is connected with the plasma consciousness and connected with the upper levels of that particular wave band of colour. So earlier on in this channel, I don't think it was a video I deleted. I took a lot of my videos down because as my awareness has expanded, I didn't want to keep repeating the same thing, and there will be some videos I will revisit from a higher level of awareness now, 4 years down the line. Obviously it's an evolving, active, moving template, this channel, so my awareness has not stayed fixed. It has shifted significantly over 4 years. I think it's still on the channel. I'll check after I've recorded this. Cowling, last year, it was about this time last year when I was in New York, saying that there were different colour wave bands coming in, and I think I called it 7D colour wave bands. Now this, when I was talking about colour just now, I'm not talking about our normal linear perception of colour or our normal linear perception of chakras. I'm talking about the higher dimensional levels of that, and that links me again to another video I brought out a couple of years ago, I think, called the 15 to 24 chakra system. So these are, let's say, higher levels of our awareness, our higher state of body. I could say our higher self state, I could say our ascended body state, I could say our oversoul, I could say our galactic consciousness, our cosmic consciousness. These higher expressions of us, still us, but the higher dimensional versions of us, all interplaying with our electromagnetic systems that we are, let's say, coming online in a plasma form. Now, that all sounds very woo-woo. I'm very well known for being very down to earth and grounded on this channel. So when I say it, I'm fascinated. It's a real buzz for me, that whole quantum, almost like metaphysical astrophysical kind of metaphysics, that kind of whole thing for me is something I'm really passionate about, and it really fires me up. And I do feel that's part of my role, actually, to do with that. So I'm still known for being very basic and anchored and down to earth about it. So I'm not particularly practicing in any particular different way or doing anything particular different. It's happened or happening naturally and organically. And this is what you will find on whatever course you're on to your evolution. If that's an awakening course you've chosen, because like I say, not everybody does through their free will. If you've chosen to be awakening and you've chosen that route for sending in your human body, there are different stages you hit depending on where you start. So some start here and some start here. It's different for everybody. I started here and had to go up to there. So I've gone the long way round, and it always makes me laugh. Had I not gone that way round, I couldn't help the people at D, you know, because I've been through all of that. So I get it, I understand it, I can read the energetics of it. The plasma energy is part of this evolution and is online very much so. It's there at the moment. Now, there will be many people watching this video that resonate with that, but are nowhere near at a point in their evolution where they might find it interesting, but it doesn't really, they know it's not part of their experience at the moment. That's absolutely fine. It wasn't part of my experience till the last 3 or 4 days. It doesn't mean to say that it's not all there within you. It's just not switched on yet. You're not aware of it yet. There is other things to be adjusted, assimilated, aligned with before that particular one. So that's all fine. But there are things at this point in time that seem to be nudging us along in that particular direction and trying to encourage that explosion of consciousness, or that big bang of consciousness. Now, I've described that consciousness as the Big Bang for the last at least 3 years. And not only just on this channel, but professionally and personally. You know, I've sat in cafe with friends and explaining, you know, in great depth, yeah, it keeps going until this. And I smack my hands together and they all look very panicked and say, what do you mean the Big Bang? Like thinking the Earth's going to explode or something. And I say, no, it's like an explosion of consciousness, like, you know, that 0 point field, and then there's an explosion of awareness and consciousness. I have never ever seen this as a massive global one thing that then awakens millions of people. I don't resonate with that. I do not align with that. I've never seen that in my lifetime so far, and most of the teachers, let's say, that I have great respect for don't align with it either. What seems to happen is a series of stages and a series of events, and of course what's going on internally in people en masse does reflect externally, and what's being manipulated deliberately, you know, negatively or positively externally does affect, you know, to a certain degree what's happening internally in people until they get to their sovereign state of being and awareness, which is that more neutral state where they are unprogrammable, shall we say, at that point. But I do resonate with a series of different things, and I just think it depends on where you're at in your evolution. Much of what I've been talking about now, I've been on this healing and awakening journey for almost 19 years now, which is a very long time, not 5 minutes in. This fast track part of it I've now been on for 8.5 years, the fast route, which my fast route in to that state was through Twin Flame Union, genuine Twin Flame Union, that is, not all the stuff that's around it now, and all the hype that's out there, most of which is not genuine. and then, you know, so things speeded up then, and then different layers and different kind of shifts accordingly, and outer global things affect that, and of course the inner stuff that's going on affect that. So we are at a point, and if you are at that point, because it's going to be different for everybody watching this, where our plasma state of being is available and coming very much to the fore, and we have to be aware enough or in tune enough to recognize it. Otherwise we won't recognize it till it's time for us to recognize it, or some of us will never recognize it because we were never going to choose that route. I do feel it strongly aligns with the plasma and electromagnetic energy of Earth, and I do feel this is why there has been a history for so long of negative interference with the electromagnetic field of Earth and the electromagnetic fields of human beings, to prevent us hitting those stages of upper stages of evolutionary consciousness such as plasma. Why do I feel that? Because once one is online to those upper levels of themselves, they are able not only to see reality as it is and see the earth in the form that it is, but see the distortions that have been made to it, and the things that have been and are being carried out to prevent the earth coming into its full sovereign expression alongside us coming into our expression as full sovereign beings. So it's quite an exciting time. I can only feed back to you from my personal and professional experience on this. To me, it does make me smile, because just even a couple of years ago, an activation or an awakening or an awareness of that stage of consciousness within me would have probably taken me a while to readjust to, and I would have sensed it in a very different way to how I am now. Now I do feel I'm so anchored now, so different to how I was a few years ago, that it doesn't really rock me in the same way. It just seems it seems very natural to me. I don't experience it as huge intensity. A lot of people experience intensity. I went through the real intense bit a couple of years ago, 2016 being the worst. I mean, I brought out a video calling it 2016 the year of compression, and that's exactly how it felt to me then. Since then, really, although the intensity kept building, I then hit an evolutionary point within me where that intensity became like water off a duck's back. It didn't affect me in the same way, rather like being in the storm and then moving into the eye of it. Once you're in the eye of it, or in the heart of it, shall we say, you're not affected by the intensity in the same way. You're in a different state of creationary reality, where you can start to create and realize you can create what is happening in your life, and the interplay of life and you as consciousness with life, without being knocked down flat by it, because once you're in the heart of all of that, you are able to create from that karma, not karma, karma as in C-A-L-M-E-R, karma state of being. So I don't want to waffle on too long here, because it's short and sweet. So I say short and sweet, blimey, I've been talking for nearly 35 minutes. Where did that go? So on that note, I will love you and leave you as always. Thank you for watching the channel. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for supporting me as that channel in all the ways that you do, and that includes donations. Without some of that participation from people, this channel would not exist, and I wouldn't be out here sharing. Over the summer, I will be making some changes to that. I do plan to be doing some webinars. I do plan to share my services or work in a slightly different way. And I do plan to set up a Patreon page as well, where you can, you know, for as little as £1 or £2 a month, you know, by supporting that, if enough people support it, again, it keeps me out there, it keeps me working, it keeps me sharing with you, and hopefully giving you some insight, some heads up, and some help on your evolutionary path. On that note, I will love you and leave you. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I hope you found it interesting. Bye.